The top 1% of SaaS companies spend about $1 to $2 in venture capital to make $1 in ARR back. At close of the last 12 years, we scaled to over $50 million in revenue in ARR without spending a single dollar on paid acquisition. And I'm gonna share in this video with you our unique strategy to grow to a scale that most other SaaS companies have to raise 50 to 100 million to get to. And it doesn't matter if you're a startup founder or a small business owners, the strategies that I'm going to share with you are still applicable today to help you grow your business without having to spend a fortune in paid ads. We were in a tough situation. When we entered the space, there were giant CRM companies with hundreds of millions in ad budgets. So we had to decide how to compete and how to go to market against all these competitors. And very quickly to us, it was clear we're not going to outspend them. We're not going to be able to just spend more dollars to acquire customers. So advertising and paid ads just didn't seem like a place we could play to win. It just looked like a place we could go to to participate. So we decided to just strike it out as a channel completely and focus on something we could earn and we could be more creative, more useful, more impactful, which was content marketing, creating content that hopefully would attract a big audience and being able to do that with creativity and knowledge or know-how instead of having to do it with raising millions of dollars to outspend our competitors. So when you think about creating content to build an audience, you have to ask yourself, what do we know? What is our perspective? What is our experience? What is a point of view that could serve our potential customers? And what are the problems they have that we've had maybe in the past, that we've overcome in the past, or that we're currently solving in some creative, interesting way, or at least are open enough to share how we're struggling, how we're trying to solve, what we're attempting to do, and what results we're generating, so they can come along the way and hopefully learn from us and with us as we're trying to sort of build what they are also attempting to accomplish. But ultimately, at the heart of it is asking the question, how can I help? What can I teach? How can I uniquely offer something that nobody else can offer right now or is willing to offer in quite the same way? The balance between growing in numbers and being viral versus being truly impactful is a tricky one, and I'm not going to pretend that I've had that balance down forever. I started caring mostly about impact first and foremost, so I didn't really care about how big the numbers were. I cared about how impactful, how much the content that the one view saw and consumed, how much of an imprint and an impact video had on that one person that watched it. It really moved that person. Did it really solve their problem? Did it really encourage them to change their life or to solve a problem or to become more successful? That was what I really was focused on. And as we were getting feedback, first on small numbers and then slightly growing numbers, that people really cared, that people really engaged with the content and that it really mattered to them. That was sort of the fuel that we needed to invest more and more in growing the audience. So I would first prioritize impact over growth, and I would do it in that order. And most companies that compete with you will do it in the opposite order. Don't make that mistake. First, focus on impact, and as you get the feedback loop that really what you're putting out there has an impact and really matters, then start looking at more and more ways to put fuel to the fire and grow the numbers and make them go viral. So when we launched back in January 2013, all the sales content that was out there sucked. The reason for that was simple. Those companies that were producing the content were doing it for search engines. They were doing it just to do it. They were doing it in a very sort of tired, lazy way, and we thought we can do better than this. We have a more direct voice, we have more fresh, current experience, and we can write the kind of content we want to read, which is always a great hack, is to create the kind of content that you'd like to consume and that you're looking for online and can't find anywhere. Now, content has exploded in the last 12 years. There's more content than ever. There's more creative content. There's better editing. There's better video. There's better audio. There's better graphics. But great storytelling is still a scarcity. So there's always going to be an opportunity to do something slightly different from anybody else and to do something really, truly, radically authentic, with heart, with passion, with soul, instead of just sort of copy pasting the templates that are already copied and pasted 10,000s of times. So there's always going to be a place for quality and for uniqueness. You just have to find your voice and your niche and your approach. Look at the content that's out there for your space. And if you think, wow, there's tons of great stuff out there today, what isn't there? What is missing? If you can't identify that, keep looking. Don't just copy what everybody else is doing and do it slightly worse. That's not going to really help. Do something different. Our content strategy back then was very, very simple. Every single day, try to solve problems and uncover interesting stories. And whenever one of those popped up, hit record on my laptop and make a quick video. So first, look for stories, generate stories by trying to solve problems, trying to attack opportunities, talking to founders every day. What sucks right now about your sales strategy? What are you struggling with? What was the last win you had? How did you win? How did you accomplish this? I would talk to founders all day long, trying to learn from them, as well as trying to share what I've just learned with them. And whenever something clicked, I realized, oh, there's great content opportunity here. This could be useful for other people as well. So then as step number 2, I would hit record a quick video sharing the statistic, the story, the approach, the hack, the problem, the challenge, or the solution. Hit stop and take that video recording of me just very authentically, very directly talking to the camera like I would talk to the other founder, sending it to a teammate of mine to take that video content and create a first draft. Today, this is much simpler. You don't need even a writer. You could just send it or upload it to an AI tool and it can create a draft for you. And then I would edit that draft down and publish it as a first blog post. So it was collect ideas through problem solving, communication, research. Number 2, record a quick video. Number 3, turn that video into a blog post. For the first 18 months, I created a new video every single day, 5 days a week. The reason why I took that approach was very simple. I knew for me to get better at this, I need to put in the reps. I need to just keep doing it more and more and more. I need to build consistency. We can't just do it once in a while. We gotta have to go into a flow where it's harder not to create content than to create content. We knew that if we create something that's useful, people will come back to get more. And if they don't consistently get more, they will forget about coming back. So we wanted to build an internal habit. So I generated content consistently, but also an audience habit. So they came back consistently to consume more and more. They knew every day there's going to be more content. Every week there's going to be more stuff, more valuable stuff that I want to consume to learn from Stelly. And then it was about building momentum, putting lots and lots of stuff out there. And, some videos would get no traction and some videos would just explode and get like a lot more traction than the others. So it needed that consistency. And it needed that persistence to really build our point of view, our voice, and create our audience. One mistake most people make is that they overthink early on. They overproduce, they overscript, they overthink. So it's very, very hard for them to get started. And it takes way too much energy and way too much time to create a single piece of content. So by the time they have it, they're exhausted and they just don't have the energy to go and create more content. So I would encourage most founders, most startups out there to think smaller, chunk it down to a piece of content, into a creation process of content that you can easily do, that at the beginning doesn't take you too much time, too much effort. If you can't create it within 30 minutes, it's probably going to be too hard for you to get started and really build momentum. I actually did the exact opposite mistake, right? There's always a yin to a yang. I was very good at getting up and running and just churning out content consistently every day. Just go, 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 go. Don't overthink. I was great at that. But after a while, as I built momentum, as I got better and better and better, I should have started caring more about quality, editing, video graphics. How do we level up the quality of audio? How do we level up the production value? How do we make this just shine more and polish the diamond to really make it sort of really as brilliant as possible? And I was just too lazy to do that. I didn't have the inspiration. I didn't have the patience. Mostly, I really didn't have the patience to eventually, once we had an audience and once we really had content rocking and rolling, to start investing and leveling it up. I was lucky. I saw results immediately once I started creating content. Now, the results were not big. I didn't see like millions of views or millions in uniques on blog traffic, it would be modest. I would post a blog post or a video, on Hacker News, on others, places where founders would talk about selling or sales or entrepreneurship. I would send it to a couple of friends and ask for feedback and ask them if they find it useful to share it, promote it a little bit here and there. And then I would get feedback. Usually it was just a handful of people, 5, 10, 15, a couple of comments, somebody emailing me, somebody texting me, somebody posting it on their social media. But I could tell that people thought from the get-go, this stuff is useful. Wow, this was really fun to read. This was really interesting. I learned something here. So the results were very quick for me, which was the encouraging feedback I needed to keep going. But the numbers were very small, but just the quality of the numbers was good, right? People were actually reading this stuff or watching it, and people really cared, and it impacted them, and they felt something. They had a response. They loved it. They hated it. They disagreed with it. They were blown away by it, but they responded. So the results were quick. And that was all I needed. I just needed to see that people cared. I didn't care how many people. And I was very patient, and I tried to translate those numbers very quickly to real numbers. We often are jaded online. We think, what? This video only has 110 views? That's nothing. Think about one morning opening your door and having 110 people standing there listening to you 10-minute talk. And then, half of that a group comes and hugs you and tells you really changed their life. That would be pretty dope. That would be pretty impactful. For us, when it came to tracking the impact of the content to our revenue for our SaaS business, it was very quick, maybe 3-4 months. And we started hearing that about half the trials that would sign up, when asked, how did you hear about Close for the first time? About half of them would say, oh, I read your content, I watched a video, somebody recommended a podcast. And it stayed consistently as we grew. First year, we grew from 0 to 750,000 in ARR. The second year, we're at 2 million. The third year, we're at 6 million. During that entire time, consistently 50 to 60% of people that would come, sign up for a trial, and convert to paying customers would tell us, I first got aware that you exist and your software exists by reading your content, by watching your videos, by consuming the stuff that you put out there. I think from the get-go, I asked myself, what kind of content am I passionate about? What do I think is my unique voice and strength? And there are always people out there that were really good at finding the memes, finding what's viral, what's cool, what hits the nerve of the time, what's currently happening in the news. I was just not one of them. I knew this is not my thing. I don't care about this. I'm not great at this. I'm not interested in this. There are other people that were very strategic, dissecting. Why did this video get this many views? What keywords were in there? What search volume does it have? Who searches for it? How and when? And they would architect content that would sort of hit the search engines and generate the traffic. Again, when I ask myself honestly, is this my strength, my competitive advantage? Can I be better at this analytical mind when it comes to content creation than other people? Can I be more strategic and more numbers driven and more data driven than others? The answer was no. But what I knew was what I really care about when it comes to the advice I take and I consume, when it comes to the books I want to read, the videos I want to watch. I'm interested in things that are timeless, things that come from people that really have done it and done it consistently and persistently for a long time. I want people that have done this for decades, right? So the knowledge is truly in depth and true. And I'm interested in books that have been bestsellers for decades, not just on the bestseller list right now because it's a fad or it's cool. So since that's the kind of content I'm gravitating towards and I was interested in, I knew this is the kind of content I want to create. So I would ask myself, when I teach this, is this just based on what's cool and fun and hyped right now? Or is this based on a principle that's timeless, that I believe was true 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and hence the chances that it will still be true 10 years from now are pretty high. That's how I approach content. And that's why a lot of the stuff that I created was timeless and evergreen. It's still to this day, I can share out, people consume and tell me, wow, this was really useful. This really helped me today, although it's content that I produced 11 years ago. And this is my exact playbook for growth. Now, over the last 12 years of our journey, it's not all just been success and growth. I've made tremendous amounts of mistakes, a tremendous amount of heartache. If you want to avoid some of the biggest pitfalls and mistakes and missteps that I took as an entrepreneur, keep watching the next video to save yourselves many, many years and a lot of pain.